Hey everyone, welcome back to the Unapologetic Me, where I choose to live unapologetically. So, as you can see, this layout for this video is a little bit different. I'm going to cover just a couple of things, just you know, since I'm still getting started and these videos are new. I do have a little bit of a list of what I'm going to say throughout the video. No, it's not a script. It's just I have ADHD, and if I don't have some sort of um, some sort of thing to refer to, I'll be here for like 8 hours and I'll say only half the things I wanted to say. So, with that being said, I wanted to start this off at 8:08 earlier today when I saw the timing. It's now 8:40. Don't judge me. But because I wanted to start it at 8:08 because that's the time it was when I was getting everything together. I wanted to read the angel number attached to that. It says 808 is a sign of abundance, manifestation, and spiritual expansion. It suggests that your hard work and positive mindset are bearing fruit, and you can expect an influx of prosperity and fulfillment in various areas of your life. So I really wanted to share that with you guys because, one, I just wanted to say thank you. I saw that the last video that I put out has reached at least 300 views as of this morning. So I know it's not a lot. I know I'm not like a YouTube sensation, but I can't tell you how much that meant to me. Like, I wasn't expecting for that many people to like actually watch that video. And I started to not even put it out. I actually created 4, maybe 5 videos a couple weeks before that and just never put them out. So I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for all of the new subscribers. I also wasn't expecting that. I feel very blessed. And I know it's still like a minuscule channel, but the fact that you guys saw a couple of the things I was doing, I was like, all right, I'll rock with it. I'll subscribe. Like, I appreciate that. I just want to go ahead and just say, like, okay, there's a couple things that I want to do with the Unapologetic Me channel, and I just want to go ahead and throw at least 4 of them out there right now, because this channel started through divine intervention for me. I wasn't going to create a channel ever. There was just it was one of those readings, kind of like the ones that I do here, that's on YouTube. I'm going to put the name of the YouTuber in the description because I can't think of her name right now, but I'm glad that I saw her video because that video that I saw, as soon as I finished it, I was like, wait a minute, am I about to start a YouTube channel? Is that what God's trying to tell me? So if it had not been for her video, I don't know if I would have started one, or at least I don't know if I would have started one as soon as I did. Some of the things that I want to cover on this channel, obviously, of course, will be tarot and it will be spirituality. I think I can't do one without the other, because they both they both made a comeback in a major way in my life roughly around the same time. So the two are intertwined. Another thing that I want to cover on this channel will be adult ADHD. I am 34 years old, and it's hold on. I will get right back to that. I feel like right now I'm going to end up rambling because I'm not doing anything with my hands. So let me just pause, get to this. This is a diamond painting that I'm going to be doing. If you're interested in trying to figure out what that is, trust me, if you Google it, you'll find a ton of these. I find it very fun and relaxing, and it's going to give my hands something to do, and my one portion of my brain something to do so that I'm not overthinking what it is that I'm saying. This one, as you will see from the thumbnail, is going to be a gigantic Minecraft one. Minecraft is my thing. It will also be on the channel more often than not. But yeah, so I'll be starting on this. And as I'm doing this, I'll be going over my list of things that I wanted to cover. So that being said, let me just go ahead. If this makes a lot of noise, I'm so sorry, because I know it's like wrap or something. 1 second. Oop. Yeah, that should work. Okay, yeah. So peeling it back, it's got adhesive, and then you got like these little baggies that have like their own little diamond things in here. I've chose squares over the round ones. You can get them round, but I want it square because Minecraft is blocks, and it would probably fit the look better. I can try to remember to put the description in here, or put where I found this in the description. If I don't, when I put this out, and somebody really wants to know, just drop a comment and I will actually go and do that legwork. But right now we're all at the mercy of my memory. So there's that. I'm going to get started doing this while I'm talking. So back at it. Adult ADHD. That's where I stopped off. So I am 34. I was diagnosed with ADHD about a year ago, like almost 2 years ago at this point. It was like when I very first turned like 33. Anyway, so I want to cover that. I want to cover, going so far or going so long in life without being diagnosed, what that's like. Because I know that there are a lot of people out there who are either going through the same thing, going through a late diagnosis like me, or still haven't been diagnosed. And I want to be able to speak to the psychological impact of being diagnosed late, and maybe even cover the challenges that I've faced before and after my diagnosis. I know not everybody can afford healthcare to go to therapy to get the assessment. The assessments are really expensive. So this would be my way of um, kind of sharing what I've learned, especially the challenges that I've had to face that I know a lot of people with ADHD have to face. So maybe you might pick up something here and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm not alone, or oh my gosh, I didn't know that that was a thing of ADHD. And it will not only help you get over that challenge, but you might even learn a little bit more self-compassion and self-love, knowing that you're not different, you're not wrong, and that there is a way to get over those challenges. So that will be happening. I'll try very, very hard to keep all these things separate, like on their own playlist. Today, it just so happens that one of the things that I like, being Minecraft, is overlapping with wanting to talk about tarot. So this is just one of those happy accidents. Another thing I want to talk about eventually will be my time in the Air Force. I am at 13 years right now. I will hit my 14th year next month in May, but I will be getting out of the Air Force in January. I plan to separate. Now, that being said, I'm not going to get into like the real nitty gritty as to why I'm getting out, at least not until January, because I'm still attached and I'm still what the Air Force likes to call an ambassador for the Air Force. So I'm just going to, hold my tongue. But once that uniform comes off, that the truth about my time will come out. So there's that. So be on the lookout for that, probably in January. And then I got books. So books that I want to talk about will probably be, just books that I'm reading, books that I'm interested in. There are some books that I plan on writing. I want to write at least 4 books. I know it's ambitious. Thank you, ADHD. However, I've had these books or ideas for these books in my mind for as long as I can remember. I just, because being untreated with ADHD, haven't had the focus and dedication to stick with it and bring them to fruition. That will change. So there's probably going to be many more things that I want to cover in the Unapologetic Me channel, and then whatever God decides I'm going to be covering, that's what I'm also going to be covering. But right now, those are the main 4 that is in alignment with what I want to talk about on here. So now we're going to skip solely to tarot and spirituality. I want to have 2 shout outs first in the tarot and spirituality zone. Last week, I had 2 comments on my video, which I appreciated so much. One was from Lady Sage Heart. She gave me a lot of insight as to her, or I'm going to say they, I'm sorry. They gave me a lot of insight as to what their take was on my video, what they liked, and they said that, it's one, they're still checking my videos out. So yeah, any and all feedback that you guys want to tell me about will be much appreciated. I'm brand new. I'm not editing right now. So I also want to give a shout out to Hakuna Matata, which dope name, by the way. But Hakuna Matata set y'all up for success last week as well. They put a comment with the start time of when I got into the reading. I appreciate that. That might be something that I actually try to put in myself going forward, if I can remember. If not, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate it. But yeah, if you guys want to have more stuff like that in the comments, trust me, I'm going to read them. And I am just blessed that you guys took the time to watch and to give feedback. So thanks. For tarot reading, spirituality, I tend to open it up. I read my Bible beforehand. I say a prayer. Either I say a prayer before I turn on the video, or I will actually say a prayer during the beginning before I do my reading. But either way, I know some people think that tarot is evil, and they think that, oh, it's nothing but the devil. You're not supposed to know the future. Well, guess what? I'm a weather forecaster, so I know the future already. So that doesn't make any sense now, does it? No one ever looks at the weather forecaster and go, that's evil. You're not supposed to know the future. No one knows the future but God. So get off me with that. So yeah, I just wanted to say, like, that's my process for it. Another thing I wanted to jump in and do and say is that from now until the end of this year, this is 2025 going towards 2026, I will be offering free readings to whoever. If you want a free reading, if you would like a free reading, I'll leave descriptions to both my Facebook page that I have. I have an official Unapologetic Me Facebook page. You can send me a message through there. I'll also have my email sent in the description as well. So you can drop me a message there. The only things that I ask to get the readings are: 1, try to make it a very specific question, because the more generalized that you make the question, the more vague that answer is most likely going to turn out. And then if you have multiple aspects of your life that you have questions for, like say you want to ask about career, finances, family, friends, romance, spirituality, those aspects, I'm all for doing like different readings for you guys. If you send me 5 different emails back to back, and they're all about different aspects, I'm happy to do them. I just wanted to, urge a bit of advice to you that you may want to space them out just so that you can properly digest the reading in its entirety. Because that's one thing I learned personally, is I tried to do too many readings for myself, and so I came out with like too much information. And sometimes you can get too much information, and it can block, it can what's the word I'm looking for? It can cloud your judgment on what it is you're meant to do or not meant to do. and sometimes you can block your blessings like that. So there's that. So if you have a specific question, that would be awesome. Space them out. Like I said, right now they'll be free. As far as how many comes out in the reading, that will be 100% dependent on my spiritual team. That's the divine three in one: the Father, the Mother, the Son. I know a lot of people may have a question as to like, what is that? It's literally the same as Christianity's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I just think the Holy Spirit is the mother, and I think that the patriarchy does not want us to know that the Holy Spirit was actually a woman. That's just my whole thought. If you gel with it, great. If you don't have to watch me. But that's where my spiritual team is guiding me as far as that goes. I also speak with my guardian angels and my ancestral spirits, specifically the ones of time. But ADHD moment. I forgot where I was going with that. Well, whatever. Yeah, if you want to send me an email, send me an email, send me a Facebook message, send me a Facebook message. Right now I'm working night shifts, so I may get back to you as quickly as, or I may get back to you quick. It may take me a minute. It also depends on how many readings have been requested. I will say that once I get to your email to do your requested reading, I will shoot you an email saying like, hey, you are next, like you're next in line. I'm working on it right now. So now you're not waiting like days, like, oh my gosh, when is she gonna get to mine? So I'll try to remember to do that. That's what it was. They will be jumpers. That means whatever the universe wants to relay while I'm doing the reading based off of your specific question, that's the number of cards that would jump out. Sometimes it may be a lot, sometimes it may not. It is what it is. That being said though, if for some wild reason my the reading requests that people send me tend to um go at least into the double digits or more, like triple digits, I may I may actually shorten the amount of cards that are allowed to actually fly out to a certain number. And that's purely just so that I can get to everyone's readings in time. Um, because I do still work full time. In fact, I work tonight, but I really wanted to get this out. Um, so yeah, I will get to your readings. I will do as many readings as I can, at least the ones that I'm doing for free before the end of this year. And if for some reason, like we get so many people that I can only do say 3 cards per reading, and you want to know more about that particular reading, just let me know and I'll do maybe like a second reading asking clarifying questions about that reading. So there's that. Now, the main purpose that I have for today is it's more of a reflection video. I know a lot of people put out just reading after reading after reading. That's fine. I like that. I do like that, but I also wanted to start putting out reflection videos, especially videos that or readings that I feel have that resonate with me and that have some kind of like impact toward me, because then I can kind of uh, give you like almost like a feedback on how that reading went, and I do have some advice. So last week's reading, I said, do the difficult thing, it will be worth it. I did say that after you do the difficult thing and that it will be worth it, it may not happen immediately. It may take some time for that great thing to develop, but it will be better than your wildest dreams, is what that reading was telling me. And if I'm not mistaken, I think on the difficult thing side of the reading that I had on one side, it had at least 5 cards over there of of difficultness. Now, I didn't know if it was going to be 5 individual things or if it was just going to be 1 or 2 things with the difficulty of 5. For me personally, it was 5. It was 5, and it at least um at least 4 of them revealed themselves before Wednesday of last week. I wasn't expecting it, but that's what it was. And don't worry, I'll share what the difficult things were. Um, so if you guys remember, or not remember, but if you guys have seen on my page, on my channel, I also have a much older video that I put out. I want to say I put it out on February 7th, so about 2 months ago. And it was talking about my love life being on blast. um, so I went back and I watched that. Anytime you get a reading or perform a reading for, especially if it's for yourself, I encourage you to go back and reflect on it, because one, there may be some pieces in there that's still moving, that's still coming out. Two, there may be something that you missed. And that's exactly what happened with me. So my first rule with readings, I would say, is reflect, reflect, reflect. Go back and look at what was read for you. Just, I think it's good. I also think it also helps kind of improve your reading techniques, and the things that you do and would and won't do for yourself and whoever that you read for. So, in that reading, I had 3 different guys, or at least that's what it looked like to me. It looked like 3 different guys in the reading that I had connections with, and I asked questions on how those connections um, were meant to work out, what was meant to transpire, what lessons I was meant to learn. The first thing I did, my first mistake in that reading, was that I assumed. So that comes to my second rule. Do not assume when it comes to these readings, um, especially if it's about people. Do not assume you know who that reading is referring to, unless you already have seen multiple things within that reading that confirm that that's that person. And trust me, they will be specific. They won't let you doubt. Um, and then I'm gonna also follow that up with the next rule. Rule 3: don't force. Don't force a reading. If it's meant to resonate with you, it will. So in that reading, I had um, one mystery person that was up in the top corner that was, I want to say he was like a knight of swords, and I want to say there was also a reverse tower. So it was a knight of swords reverse and a tower reverse. And I didn't know who this person was, but I do remember saying that this person's energy was not something that I would gel with and not something that I would want. And because it was someone that I wouldn't want, I completely dismissed like everything to do with that person. I just kind of like sped through his part of the reading because I was like, that's not my cup of tea. And I was so focused on this King of Cups situation because that sounded amazing. It was kind of like skipping your vegetables and going straight to dessert, really. That's how focused I was. And so I did that, and then I assumed I knew which person to be which one of those things. Turns out I was wrong. I was wrong because I forced a reading. Now, I'll tell you where I was wrong, I'll tell you where I was right. I was wrong about the person, but I wasn't wrong about the sign. In that reading, the King of Cups, I knew, or I was certain that person was a Pisces. I was like, this person has to be a Pisces. There's a bunch of fish all over this card that I was reading. And I was sure that that was the person I was meant to choose because I had fish on my card. that I knew was me as the Page of Cups. The problem is I did not know that this King of Cups. Also, I'll say that the King of Cups, I was right in that this person had already made an appearance in my life. Very small appearance, but an appearance in my life in some way, shape, or form. My problem was that I keyed in on the wrong person. So the person that I keyed in on, their birthday was March 20th. And depending on where you go looking, March 20th can sometimes say Pisces, sometimes it can say Aries. Reality is March 20th is a freaking cusp. It's a cusp in between the two, which means that it falls on a date right between the two signs, one sign ending, one sign starting. So Pisces season ends, Aries season starts, which means that the person who is born under that sign will most likely have a combination of those two traits. Granted, obviously, I mean, it's not going to be the only traits that this person has because you have to look at their whole birth chart. But as far as the traits that the world sees, it would be a combination of those two. Um, so yeah, I picked the freaking cusp. And I think it was because I was already I was attracted to this cusp that I just really wanted it to fit, and I ended up forcing it. And in reality, I think what happened was is in trying to force this cusp into the King of Cups, I became the Knight of Swords that was at the top, which is wild. But I became the Knight of Swords reversed that was at the top because this person, the Knight of Swords, if I remember correctly, was somebody who was impatient and was just in such a rush. And I said if that person didn't slow down and reflect, they were going to run into a reverse tower. And that's exactly, sorry if I yelled, but that is exactly what happened. I was in such a rush to go meet with what I thought was my King of Cups, ran into a little bit of a unrequited love situation. Um, and you're like, okay, it was unrequited love. Dude, everybody's been rejected. You'll get over it. You'll survive. Well, one of the things they don't tell you about ADHD is that there's this thing called, I think it's RSD, rejection sensitivity. I think rejection sensitivity disorder might be the whole thing. I'm not 100%. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. But essentially, it's the fact that people with RSD, when they are rejected, it is almost, that feeling is almost amplified, on a almost visceral level. Um, they don't take rejection as well as somebody on the street. Somebody on the street, you're like, hey, I like you, you're cute, you want to go out? They say no, you're like, all right, they'll keep it moving. People with RSD, though, when you reject them, it's not just rejecting them in that moment. It is they take that rejection and they internalize it as it to mean something is wrong with them, that they are bad. Now, I'm not saying that so that you can oh, I need to, be careful. I need to go easy on this person or not reject them because of how they handle it. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm just saying is for my people with ADHD, I need you to understand why you're taking that rejection so seriously. Why is it bothering you so much that this person is rejecting you or these people are rejecting you? That's why. And so you need to understand that they're not rejecting you because they think you're a bad person. They're just rejecting you because you're not exactly their cup of tea. And to help with that, I recently heard that this phrase may be in the Bible. I'm not 100%. I'm going to try to look it up and see if I can find the actual verse in there, but someone once told me, or I once heard, that God said that rejection is just redirection. So for all my ADHD people out there that goes through rejection, just think about that. That just means that whatever is being rejected at that point is not meant for you. I say it almost all the time. What's meant for me will not pass me by. So just remember to say that over and over when those things happen, because it's not a reflection on your character. I don't think. I think if it is, that person would tell you. But sometimes it's just as simple as y'all not on the same vibe, and that's okay. Not everybody's meant for you. So that's that. The next rule that I have for my readings is you may hear something during your reading that sounds wild. That just sounds off the cuff. It sounds impossible or too good to be true. My next rule will be have an open mind. Don't be so quick to dismiss. Don't be so quick to scoff. I started reading the Bible from the beginning earlier last year. I intend to keep working my way through it. But one of the stories that I got to was Abraham and Sarah. Sarah was married to Abraham. They were old AF. I want to say that Sarah was like in her 90s, something like that, and Abraham was already in his butt ages. He was in those triple digits, and at one point, God told Abraham that he and Sarah were going to have kids, not just kids; they were going to birth like nations, essentially. And I remember reading when like Sarah heard that, she laughed. She laughed at God because she was just like, I'm 91. How am I supposed to be giving birth to anything? I'm more likely to kill over before I am to have kids. And she did end up having kids. So just because you can't see God's vision for you at the time of whatever reading you're getting doesn't mean that mess isn't going to happen. And I say that to say this, that I'm not going to say I'm certain because like I said earlier, don't assume. But I have a very strong indication that I have actually met that King of Cups now, and it wasn't whom I was expecting. And this is the confirmation based off of previous readings that I've done for myself that I haven't recorded. But one of the previous readings that I had read was like, "Oh, you're gonna meet someone. Um, you're gonna meet someone important, and you're gonna meet that person at work." And I remember laughing. I essentially scoffed at it. And the reason why I scoffed at it is because the place where I work right now, there's only three categories for guys there. They're either 12, married, or married with kids. So like I was like, I'm not dating no 12-year-old. Obviously, I'm not gonna be on my P Diddy Eddie. Wow, I don't know why I was about to say Eddie Murphy. I hope not. God no. But I'm not about to be on my P Diddy um status. I'm not dating no 12-year-olds. But so I was like, yeah, there's that, and then I'm not going after nobody's like husband. That's just not who I am. I feel like that would just completely block all my blessings. I don't need the karma. Um, so yeah, I laughed at it, I scoffed at it. I was like, nah, that ain't gonna happen. Um, but turns out I'm wrong. There's this person that I ended up working with who is not 12, is in fact an older gentleman, which is funny because another different reading that I had said that I would end up meeting a mature partner, most likely older than me. So there's that. And then they are, without getting into their business, they're actually on the market. So, um, joke's on me. I bet you when it happened, when I actually met this person and that realization hit, the whole spiritual team was probably up there laughing, just cracking up. Like, boom, got her. This is what happens when you assume. so, so there's that. Um, But yeah, and I found out later that this person actually is also a Pisces. Um, so yeah, person's a Pisces, somebody I work with, or it's that I am work adjacent with, and is older than me. So yeah, I'd say that the reading that I did back in February was pretty accurate. I just had the wrong person in mind when I was reading it. And I think the reason that was is because this King of Cups that I am almost certain that it is now, um, I didn't know that much about this. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. I didn't know that much about this person at the time when I did that reading back in February. So, and I knew the cusp a bit more. And so I made that assumption based off of what I knew about each. Well, one, I just knew the cusp more. I didn't really know the Pisces at all. Like, I didn't even know that person was a Pisces. So that person wasn't even on my radar when I did that reading. Um, but now, 2 months later, I've had conversations with this person. And the part of the reading when I was like, okay, if this is my King of Cups, if this is my person that I'm supposed to be with, and I'm pretty sure I said the S word, um, I was like, what's the holdup? What's the freaking big deal? And I was talking about how this person had like gone through a lot and is going through even more, and that they had to deal with that first, um, before they would be ready to like start any of the awesome goodness that was what I was seeing. And so I was like, oh, wow. Like at the time, I was like, dang, that sucks. And I wanted to be able to help that person. And, God said no, said focus on, my career, my side hustles that I got going on. So I was like, fair. Um, and so I'm going to try not to hold on. I think I'm coming up to the end of this reflection. Um, or at least I'm trying to. But yeah, so I was like, dang, it wasn't until 2 days ago, in the midst of my reflection on this week's reading, that I went back to go watch the February 7th reading. And I realized that this person, this King of Cups, the second awful thing that this person was, that it alluded that they were going through, this person had not gone through that thing yet. Hadn't even happened. Um, so I get it. I get it now. Um, but it was kind of eerie to see that I was able to see that in the cards, and then go back and look and see how accurate my reading was about someone that I did not even know, like that. So I will say that as well. Um, Sometimes the accuracy of these readings can be a bit scary, and I get that. And for that, I would probably just suggest prayer. So just prayer and a lot of reflection. If you don't journal, if you don't meditate, I would advise for you to at the very least start to journal if you are going to get readings. Um, because it can be a lot to digest. Not just the reading itself, but the accuracy of the reading can unsettle people sometimes. I mean, it still unsettles me when it's so spot on. Um, but yeah, it was a spot on read. And then now, to fast forward to this week's reading specifically, which I'm gonna try to watch this and timestamp it before Hakuna Matata does. If Hakuna Matata beats me, tight. If not, I got y'all, so y'all can skip. um, this past week's reading, the 5 difficult things that I had to do. The first one was I had to have a conversation with my mother. I haven't had that conversation yet, but I do know it's coming. It might be today. I'm gonna try to make it today. Because the longer I delay doing these things, the longer the delay is going to happen on the good stuff. And that I know. So I have to have a conversation with her. Um, I have a very, um, I had a very, what I would say is as a traumatic childhood. I've been through some ish, y'all. It may come out one of my books one day. We'll see. But I have to have a conversation with her because a couple months ago or over a year ago, I tried to have her take accountability for her hand in my upbringing, and it didn't go the way I wanted it to. Um, and I want to share that with y'all. I feel called to share that with y'all because some of y'all might be trying to do that with your parents, have them take accountability for their hand in your upbringing. Um, and it can be sad when they don't want to do it, especially if they try to like justify or minimize or deflect their responsibility onto something else. It can hurt. And I stopped speaking with her for a while. I think it was months. It could have been over a year. That's where the ADHD time blindness comes in. I have no idea. I just know it's been at least some months, at least 6 months. Um, because I didn't know how to have a relationship with her if she wasn't going to take accountability. Like the anger that I had was fighting against the love that I had for my mom, just being my mom. So I have to have a conversation with her on that as to like accepting that she's not obligated to take accountability, but at the same time I'm also not obligated to go above and beyond as her daughter. Like I can still have a relationship with her, but I don't have to call her every day or every week. I can call her when I want to call her, and if I don't, I don't. Same thing as her phone calls. She can call and I can pick up, or she can call and I won't. It will happen. That may happen. She can call or she can send me a message and say, "Hey, I need you to call me," and I'll do it. And she can send that same message and I won't. Those are the consequences of when you don't want to take accountability for your actions in someone's upbringing, especially if they're trying to have you hold you accountable to something that hurt them and you don't want to. Well, guess what? You, whether or not you realize it or not, you just defined how you want your relationship with that person to go moving forward. And so you can't get mad when I give you exactly what it is that you asked for. So that's hard conversation one. Hard conversation two will be with my dad. I had stopped talking to him for a while for a reason. I don't really particularly want to go into details with that. It just seems a bit personal, but I will say I stopped talking to him because I didn't know how to approach the situation. Sometimes it's hard to have conversations with loved ones because you know what you're going to say is going to hurt them. And for some, like myself, rather than call them and have that hard conversation and see them hurt, you kind of like pull an ostrich and put your head in the sand and just pretend it's not happening and and think, oh, if I don't address it, then it'll blow over. Not really. Because I did that, and instead of talking to them, I unintentionally ended up cutting him off as well. Ended up accidentally going no contact. Um, which I think probably hurt more than had I just had the daggone conversation. So I have to call him and I have to apologize for being a little kid, being a little scared little kid that didn't know what to do in that situation, and work on rebuilding that relationship. So that's two of five, guys. Difficult conversation number three was earlier this week. Um, I had to have a tough conversation with my leadership at work because I plan on getting out of the Air Force. And I wasn't planning on doing that, but something had happened um, with my leadership at the time, back in like January, February of this year. And it kind of changed how I viewed um, the enlisted leadership side of the Air Force. It just kind of changed my entire view on that. Um, and it was one of those things that's like not even really military based. It's like generational. And I know a lot of y'all, if you haven't served, you'll still understand this. That a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, that's just the way it was when I was growing up. So that's just the way that I handle it now." And then you're like, "But that's a terrible way to handle that. Like that clearly it didn't work for you, so why would you want to pass that on to the next generation? And they just kind of shrug their shoulders and be like, well, that's what I was taught. And so I had a situation occur like that, to where someone applied what they knew a leader to do based on what their leaders did when they first joined and when they were moving up in the ranks. And it's a toxic way of doing things. And I had asked the question, I was like, this isn't going to change. It's not going to change. Um, and I know it's not going to change. I know a lot of the times they'll say, "Oh, it can change. You just have to be the change you want to see as you move up in the ranks." Well, here's the problem with that. That is a very naive and almost childlike dream to tell your airmen. It is. It's a very childlike dream, because you can do that. You can do that, and for the longest time, I was doing that. I was being that change that I wanted to see in my Air Force leadership. But instead of being able to truly affect change, I was met with paperwork. I was met with paperwork. I was met with reprisals in a different way, shape, or form, and the realization hit me that, like, okay, I have two options. Well, I have three options now because of where I am in my rank, and I might go into a bit more detail about it, specific situations after I separate. But right now, I'm not going to, because I'm protecting the people in which I work with. 'Cause I'm not trying to start nothing. But my options were either A, put my head down, mind my business, take care of myself and my airmen, my troops that I supervise, and make rank, or survive. Option number two would be to push back, continue being the way that I am right now, where I am being that change that I wanted to see. I'm holding not just myself and those I outrank accountable, I'm holding those who outrank me accountable whenever I'm seeing things that do not align with the values of the Air Force, do not align with the things that they teach us. The problem with that is if I continue to do that route, I'm just going to continue to get paperwork. And in my career, my 14 years of being in, I've achieved a lot. I've had a lot of accomplishments. I've gotten a lot of awards. I've gotten a lot of recognition. I worked hard. And what I don't want to see before I leave is the stack of paperwork that I would get being that change outweighing and completely undoing all of the hard work that I did throughout my career. It's one of those it's one of those was Dark Knight references where you like live long enough to see yourself become the villain. That I don't want to be in long enough and fight long enough to see the paperwork tear down everything, every good thing that I've done in my service. So option three is to get out. So that's why after 14 years, I will be getting out of the Air Force. That's why when everyone talks to me about me getting out and tells me, hey, you should stay in because of the retirement, because of the benefits, like, it's more than money to me. The reason why I joined was more than money. So it would only make sense that the reason why I would separate, especially early, would also be more than money. So that's hard conversation number three. Three. And now those three hit me by Wednesday. Hard conversation number four was with myself, which is wild. I didn't see coming, but it happened. And that conversation, hard conversation number four has to happen before hard conversation number five that I have to have with this person, this King of Cups. And that I guess hard conversation for 4.5 is also having that conversation with you guys. Um, it's relationship wise. So in my relationships, I have always prided myself on my loyalty. I have. I was always like, you know what? I would never cheat. I would never do that to myself. I would never do that to my significant other. Like, I would leave. I would get out before. If it's that bad, I would leave before anything like that happened. I always said it. Now, sometimes we stay in relationships longer than we're meant to. Sometimes God tries to show us and even will throw a million signs at us on when a relationship has run its course. And we will ignore every single last one of them. And there's a million reasons why we do that. Either you still love this person, or you feel obligation towards this person, responsibility towards this person, um, and you don't leave. Well, when God has a calling on your life, if when there's a purpose that's coming straight from God, and God knows that you know what that purpose is because they've already told you, and staying with that person is getting in the way of your purpose. Sometimes God will align things up in such a way to where you have no choice but to let that relationship go. That's the only thing that makes sense. Now, I say that to say this. Although I know divine intervention was at play, I take full responsibility for my hand in what happened. There's absolutely nothing. I don't care how bad that relationship got. There's nothing in this world that justified what I did. It really isn't. There's nothing I can say in this world that justified it. Um, the hard conversation that I had to have with myself is, one, saying out loud to myself, I cheated. I was unfaithful. That was hard conversation number one, or hard statement number one. I knew I was with this person 6 years. Now, I'd always said that by year 5, I would know if I was marrying that person or if we were separating. 5 years was my limit. 5 years was my limit. I was like, I'll go not one day longer. Always said it. Said it. I said it back when I wasn't even really dating. Like, I was still in school. I was a kid. I just remember seeing my mom's relationships, and I was like, nope, 5 years is it. My mom always said 5 years is long enough to finally know someone. You don't really know someone until about the 5 year mark. Sometimes they can fool you for longer, but 5 years is about the average. And I knew 3 years in, I want to say, 3 years in, I said that I would get married for love. This person said that they would get married for convenience. That was the first sign God sent me that this person was not supposed to be my person. I had hit my 5 year mark with this person, and I knew. I mean, my 5 year anniversary was like, I could see it coming like days away, months away, but it was right at that day, and I knew. I was like, I don't want to marry this person. I don't want to marry this person. This person does not match me on every single thing that I find important. I wanted a mental connection, an emotional connection, a spiritual connection, a financial connection, and then a physical connection. I said, the person that I'm meant to marry will meet me on all of those. I won't have to choose. I won't have to beg. It won't be hard. that's who I know God will have for me. And at year 5, I knew that that wasn't that person. Now, the problem was, at the time, this person was not working. We lived together, and this person wasn't working. And I encouraged and supported that choice that they had made at that time. I'm not going to go into specifics because I'm not saying their lack of working does not justify. It's not the part that it's not the part. That's not the focus. It's not the point. The point is that's why I stayed. That's the only reason why I'm bringing up that part, is because I did not want to end a relationship with someone who I knew was financially dependent on me if it meant that person was going to be out in the cold. That was a point where I loved another person more than I love myself, that I put my word and the promise I made to myself, I put it second. And that was another sign that God sent me. It was a sign that I wasn't supposed to be with this person, because I don't think the person that I'm meant to be with would ever have me in that position to where I would have to disappoint myself in that kind of way. So fast forward, it was like 5 years, so about halfway through, was when it happened. Uh, it was a friend slash an ex from my past that came back into the picture, and at the time, I just only saw this person as a friend, and they were coming back to visit to the States, and they were like, "Hey, we should hang out," and I said okay. And at first, I said okay, and this is on me. Um, I had hung out with this person before. It was about a year into my relationship with the guy that I was with for 6 years. I'd hung out with this person before, and I'd hung out with them strictly as friends. There was no romantic involvement going on there. Um, I gave them a place to stay because they were stopping through. And I was like, oh, I'll be a good friend. It'll be free. It'll be fine. Sorry. My boyfriend at the time was not living with me. He was in a different state. Did I tell my boyfriend? No. That was a shame on me as well. I should have at least told them, but I didn't want to deal with the drama of them feeling uncomfortable about the situation when I knew I wasn't going to do anything. And I didn't. I didn't do anything. This person came, they visited. At most, we hugged once in greeting. We spent that day talking, laughing, reminiscing. That person did stay over. I did have them, I allowed them to stay over, but that person stayed in a whole different room. They stayed in a whole different room. My door was shut. Nothing happened. I'm being 100% honest. I don't think enough people are 100% honest these days, but nothing happened. Now, the problem is I got cocky. And here's where pride cometh before the fall. I got cocky this time around. I was like, I can hang out with the same person. I can have the same kind of setup. Nothing will happen. Well, I was in denial. I did not, I had not come to terms yet with how unhappy I was in my relationship at the time. I was ignoring that fact. And so I went and I hung out with this person for the most part that whole day. Nothing happened. It was just like last time. It wasn't until that person was leaving that this person pulled me in and kissed me. And I didn't stop them. And I gave in. I gave in and I ended up essentially cheating in that moment. I mean, we're being honest here. I cheated the moment I agreed to go meet that person and again not tell my significant other. So, um, but yeah, I cheated. I stopped partway through, but by the end the damage was already done. It had already happened. So I knew then, okay, not only have I betrayed my relationship, but I betrayed myself. It was like I betrayed who I was in my soul. Like on a spiritual level, like I betrayed myself on the deepest level I could possibly do. Like the disappointment that I felt and I still feel is it's something that I know will stay with me for the rest of my life. Even even after forgiving myself for doing those things, I don't ever want to forget. I don't ever want to forget what I did, because I don't want to forget the fact that I don't want to forget the one time that I put someone else's, the love that I had for someone else was the concern that I had that they would be homeless, they wouldn't have anything. And I let that love override the fact that of my own happiness. I shoved it down. I love someone else more than I love myself. And that's the consequences of that. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, you didn't love them, you cheated on them. If you having that thought, then you got a little bit more learning about life to live. But that's what happened. And I said, never again. Never again in this world will I ever love someone else more than I love myself. Because I know what that love is capable of allowing to occur. And I won't do that again. I just won't. So that is the hard conversation I had with myself. Now, fine. And that's 4 or 5, guys. If you're keeping count, the last conversation that I have to have is with this person, this King of Cups. And I know you guys are like, why would you have a conversation with them like about that? Like they weren't there, they don't know it was before you. Some of y'all will understand. This person, this King of Cups, has been through and is still going through a lot. A lot. And the God is telling me that the amount of stuff that this person is going through demands transparency. Demands communication from the jump. If I want to meet this person that I feel like like in previous conversations, I can feel that connection on almost every single level, except for physical, nothing has happened. But if I expect to fully meet this person on all of those connections, I have to be essentially spiritually naked first. It has to happen. So I have to have the conversation with this person and let them know, like, hey, I've been unfaithful before. And I know some people have the thought of like, once a cheater, I was a cheater. I don't believe that for myself. Doing that almost destroyed me as a person. I'll never be who I was before that happened. That person is actually, in fact, destroyed. That person is gone. I'll never be her again. Um, and I know myself enough to believe and have faith that that'll never happen again. But I do still have to tell this person that up front. Cause like otherwise I'm gonna feel like I'm going into whatever this connection is with them based off of a lie, and I can't do that. They deserve to know from the jump, and then they can decide on whether or not this is something they want to pursue, or if they've already been through too much in their life to risk it. So now you guys know. Those are all 5 difficult things that I have to go through in order to have my happiness that's on the other side of last week's reading. And I think partially I procrastinated a little bit on doing it. And I think part of it is this last part is my last rules. I don't know if I said it in the beginning, if it's my first rule. If it is, it's going to be my last rule as well. Divine timing. Because just because you see something in a reading and you see that it's meant to unfold and you even begin to see those things come to fruition does not mean that these things are going to unfold in the timing in which that reading occurred. And it's not going to unfold. You have to have patience. You can't rush what it is that you're seeing. Otherwise, you might rush right past your blessing. And I think this situation got postponed partially because I was dragging my feet on having these conversations. And then the other half is that we need to understand that even though we see what it is that God has planned for us through these readings, there could be delays, especially when it deals with other people. There could be delays in the reading because there's some things on that person's behalf that they haven't figured out. It's like puzzle pieces when it comes to people and relationships and God. God is sitting here and they're working the puzzle pieces together, and this puzzle piece might be exactly where they need to be, but they still have to shift some things around over here with this person to get them exactly where they need to be so that those pieces can connect. So that'll be my final piece of advice and reflection for my previous readings and last week's readings. So I'm going to finish it there. And I do want to hear if any of these readings resonate with you guys and you start seeing, a couple things here and there unfold, shoot me a message. Even if you're not asking for a reading, shoot me a message and tell me how it's unfolding. Like, I want to hear. I'm not just throwing these readings out there just for it to be one way, just to like, have some kind of impact on your lives. I mean, I feel like whatever this is meant to impact both ways. So if you are seeing these things unfold, tell me about them. I'd love to hear about the situations and how these readings have impacted you. But I think that I've hit at least an hour, so I'm going to call it good. I might do a couple timestamps here and there, just to kind of hit the highlights of this video. But yeah, if you stuck out with me this long, thanks. And I'm probably about to clean this up so I can get ready to do the next video, which will be for next week's reading. So that being said, stay unapologetically you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.